The success of Fortnite Reload has so many players concerned. There are a lot of people that feel validated in their feelings about Season 3 because of how Fortnite Reload is doing right now. It's no secret that Reload has been outplacing Battle Royale in terms of player count for the last few days. Even I was surprised to see Battle Royale dip below 100,000 players, which is a first for me at least. I don't think I've ever seen Battle Royale have numbers so low. Now I know the mode is new and we really need to give it time to breathe in order to see how players are going to respond to it in its longevity. However, it is very telling as to what Fortnite players are interested in based upon the player counts that we're seeing for this season. Do these numbers prove that Fortnite Wrecked was a mistake? Do we believe that Fortnite might actually get rid of Battle Royale as a result of the success of Reload? Does this ultimately prove that BR as a genre is dying and that Fortnite needs to come up with something new to keep player interest? These are all interesting talking points that I want to dive into with you guys, but there's actually something even bigger that it seems like everyone is ignoring. This thing is a trend that I've seen in Fortnite since last season, but a lot of players seem to be oblivious to it. But before we get into that, I actually want to talk about one of the biggest positives of this season. Regardless of how you feel about Wrecked, there's one thing that this season has proven that's laid a concern of mine to rest that I had ever since the start of Chapter 5. We can no longer say that Battle Royale is not a priority for Fortnite. You might not like the theme of the season, you may not like the playstyle, you may not like the weapons and features that exist. However, you cannot deny that Epic Games put a lot of effort into this season. This was a big gamble on their part, and I don't think it paid off in the way that they wanted it to. However, it definitely was a huge shakeup compared to Season 1 and Season 2 of Chapter 5. There's a point that I need a lot of you to understand, which is even if you don't like a season, sometimes it's good to look at the effort that's put into something to kind of see where Epic Games is at. And here's the beauty of adding a Reload into the equation. Although Wrecked might prove that Epic Games still has a priority for BR, Reload proves that Epic Games is listening. This new mode seems to be the perfect middle ground for competitive and casual players, something that both sides seem to enjoy heavily. Now, why do I say that? If I'm remembering correctly, Wrecked was being tested around the time of Fortnite OG last year, which means this season was probably put into development bare minimum a year before it was even launched. Anytime Epic makes a new season or a new chapter, it's very risky because they put a lot of time, research, and development into that thing. They can't just mid-course correct and be like, okay, we need to completely scrap this idea and do something totally new for the season's theme. They planned the season's theme to be Cars over a year ago, so they had to stick with that. However, it was clear that the community was not happy with the season because player numbers were lower than they had been even last year. So what was the solution? Take a lot of the community's feedback and a lot of the things that you learned from OG and make a new mode out of it to appease the player base, and they did an amazing job. Now, because of the success of Reload, does this mean that BR is going to die? Because so many people are invested in Reload, does this mean that normal Battle Royale just is not worth investing into or pursuing? I don't see how that could be the case at all, and I really don't understand how anyone could come to the conclusion. I think the people that are looking at Fortnite through that lens are missing the big picture here. BR is still holding good numbers. It's not holding as many players, but that's because there's a new mode for people to enjoy. There's a different experience, and quite frankly, a lot of people do like this better, and that's okay. Fortnite as a whole seems to be holding more players than it would have if Reload didn't exist. Now, instead of holding 300,000 players between builds and zero builds, we're holding somewhere between 500,000 to 600,000 players between builds and zero builds, between Reload and normal Battle Royale. And sometimes the game can even eclipse those numbers. It just depends on what time of the day people are playing. Even when I saw that tweet of Battle Royale being right underneath 100,000 players, I knew what was up. I knew that that wasn't the peak player time. However, it was just shocking to see so few players on the game. But that doesn't mean that Fortnite overall is dying. It just means that there's more experiences for people to play, which is splitting the player base. Now, this has been a big contention for a lot of players for a while. Is Fortnite splitting the player base too much? That one, I feel like it's too early to tell. I will say this, if Epic Games is still receiving millions of players between both modes, I don't see why both can't coexist with each other. This is the same concern we had when zero builds popped up, and really, it's the same concern we had when you're looking at the funded and Fortnite model. You've got all these different experiences that are splitting the player bases between all these different sub-factions, but you have to look at it from Epic's standpoint. The more people that are on their game, the more market share they have in the gaming space. They want people to be able to participate and enjoy a variety of different experiences, and Fortnite is the perfect game to do that. It's not just a battle royale anymore, it's more of a platform game. However, that doesn't negatively affect us if the battle royale is still a main priority, which Epic Games seems to be proving that it is this season. I think for the hardcore BR players that do not like this season, the best thing you can do is hope for a better season theme moving forward, which is more than likely to happen. You're not always going to like everything that Epic Games produces. However, I'm happy that Epic Games takes risks. I'm happy that Epic Games tries something different. Even in the context of Reload, them trying this and it it being something new, you have to remember this is still kind of a Battle Royale focused game mode. It's just a different form or a different version of Battle Royale. In many ways, Reload is bringing back that LTM charm, but hopefully this will become a new permanent mode that stays. Overall, as of right now, I don't see an issue with the player base being split, because at the end of the day, what does Epic Games want to do? Make money. And how do they make money? By selling cosmetics and in-game items. And generally speaking, how are they going to do more of that? By keeping people on the game longer. I will say this, Reload has definitely made me want to play Fortnite a lot more than I had even last season. But I'm also not bored with main BR, I just have more options now. But here's an important detail that I do need to admit to my audience, which is that I would prefer to play Reload than I would main BR right now. Now that begs the question, why is that? And when I really think about it, I think it's the same reason that a lot of you are probably more interested in Reload than you are main BR. To put it simply, I just like these weapons more. The play pattern is more fun to me than even Wrecked is, because it's more fast-paced. I'm always fighting real players. I can do riskier plays and not be punished for it. It's a good balance between being able to play casually but also being in lobbies that feel very competitive. That's one thing that I think hardcore BR players are not talking about enough, which is that there are no bots in these lobbies. I'm fighting real people 100% of the time, which means I can improve. If I get a 13 to 15 kill game in Reload, that feels more satisfying than doing it in main BR, because out of a 14 to 15 kill game in that, I'm probably killing 6 to 8 bots. The argument that I keep hearing from people that don't like Reload is that it's a lot sweatier, but yes, of course it's going to be, because it's all real players. You're not finding any random wandering bots out in the wilderness that are just gonna pickaxe a wall for 5 minutes while you can shoot them in the back of the head. Now, because of all these benefits to Reload that I just mentioned, does this mean that I have to concede the point that Fortnite Season 3 Wrecked is trash? No. And here's why. Wrecked is a different experience. It's a different version of Fortnite, and it is a very fun version of Fortnite. Just because I'm enjoying Reload more right now doesn't mean that Wrecked still isn't fun. Wrecked has a goofier loot pool. Wrecked has a car meta. Wrecked has the medallions and a different weapon system. There are a lot of things to appreciate from that mode that do not carry over into Reload. I've said this in the past, but I'll say it again. I believe that Fortnite Wrecked is a good season. It just came at the wrong time. The issue with Wrecked is that it's working off the Chapter 5 blueprint. These weapons and this loot pool just do not feel as good as the OG loot pool does. And listen, I know that there are a handful of people that don't believe the weapons from Chapter 5 are much different than the weapons from OG. However, use one of the OG shotguns and use one of the new shotguns and tell me if they don't feel different to you. Please tell me that the OG pump doesn't feel more satisfying than any of the shotguns from Chapter 5. The SMGs feel better. The ARs feel better. Hit scan feels good in a game like Fortnite. And listen, I understand that there are some players that enjoy the skill of having to deal with bullet drop. However, in a game like Fortnite, where there's already an insane skill gap in builds or zero builds just because of how the game is played and the different items and weapons and metas that exist, I don't think bullet drop is a necessary caveat to add on to all the other skills you have to learn when playing this game, especially if you're trying to learn how to play builds. Now, with all of that being said, there's a detail that I feel like is being missed by so many people when looking at what's really wrong with this season. And to be fair, maybe wrong isn't the right word, but I find this interesting that this is the second time where Fortnite has done this. Back in Myths Immortals, everyone was frustrated during the Avatar update because the seasonal mythics got taken out for the Avatar mythics. This in many ways undermined the core season's theme, and although I didn't have an issue with it, I saw a lot of other people that did. Fast forward to Chapter 5 Season 3, and once again, we have another situation where Epic Games kind of seems to be undermining the entire theme and the entire purpose for this season with Reload. This season was supposed to be about cars and the mayhem about the cars and the different fists and the items and the nitro and all that stuff working in tandem together. And then all of a sudden, Fortnite just throws in the Reload curveball, and that seems to have overshadowed this entire Fortnite theme and this entire Fortnite season that we've had. I'm not sure if Reload was something that they did as a spur of the moment kind of a thing, if they did this as a result of the lack of success with Season 3. However, I'm happy that they did. I don't think that this is necessarily a bad thing. However, I find it interesting how Fortnite keeps undermining the themes or the metas of a particular season, but just in different ways. Whether it's replacing the seasonal mythics with collabs or creating an entirely new mode to overshadow your main BR, it's always something that's taken the place of what was intended to be put in front of us as the core theme or the core identity of a particular season. However, I have to admit, if something's not working, the least that they could do is course correct and find some kind of middle ground for players to enjoy. I also think that there's a difference between making an entirely new game mode to take the place of a season as opposed to removing a seasonal item in replace of another one. Both undermine the season's theme, but in different ways. Fortnite Reload doesn't really take away the experience of playing Fortnite Season 3 as it was intended to play. However, when you're taking out the Greek mythics, which were the theme of a season, in replace of a collab, that for a lot of people would be a bit more egregious. After looking at everything we've talked about so far, the big thing that's on my mind is, what is Epic Games planning for the future of Fortnite? What does Chapter 6 look like? Because I believe that after the success of Reload, it's exposed some things to Epic Games that they've been either oblivious to or been ignoring for quite some time. And it's frustrating that they have to hit the OG button every time they want to understand what these things are. That's why in our next video, I want to do a deep dive into what makes Fortnite Reload so successful, why the community is so attracted to it, and most importantly, why does Epic Games not understand what makes Fortnite successful, or really what Fortnite is at its core. If you want to see that video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. But until then, I love you guys, and I'll catch you soon. Peace out.